gearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And with that, we welcome you to Trust the Podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. This is episode number 56.
Episode 56, people. Thanks for holding down the fort, Lewis, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It was nice to have him because I love getting Lewis to talk about the Bills because I don't think he likes talking about the Bills. But when I ask him to do a favor, the man does a damn favor.
You know what? He does a favor. But as I was listening, and this is with no offense to Lewis whatsoever, he sounded like he didn't really have any idea what you were talking about. Or okay. Not necessarily that he didn't have any idea, that he just didn't really care because Dallas.
You know
Cowboys.
what? That's but would you really expect any less though? Because
no, but you know what we should do.
I asked him to do me a favor, right? And I'm like, hey, I need you just to be another voice here because John is busy because life happens because it's the holiday season. That's how things work here. Yes. But I don't want to talk to myself all over again. I mean, when I did it in Hawaii, don't get me wrong. Trust the Podcast live from my lanai in Hawaii was incredible. I would do that any day of the week. Me doing Trust the Podcast by myself in my office in Batavia, New York, not so thrilling.
Yeah, I hear you. Especially after 2 weeks ago when you went to town on that cat of yours. But you know what we should do?
Rude.
Is we should have Lewis on next week on Trust the Podcast.
We should do it. That'd
because,
be great. Let's
after we get through the three big things and we talk about week 13, it's the Buffalo Bills and his Dallas Cowboys, whom, by the way, lost in New York Jets. But anyway,
if you listen to the most recent BLTD podcast, Lewis was already talking about the game in the past tense as if the Cowboys had already won. So we'll get to that in just a moment, though.
I didn't have a chance to review BLTD yet. I got swamped at work, but I anticipate tomorrow at the real 9 to 5 not being very busy, so that'll be where I catch up on all of my podcast listening.
So, with that being said, let's run down real fast. First off, Week 12. That's episode 56, Week 12, Buffalo Bills versus Denver Broncos. You can hear us on BetterLiveThanDead.com, the new GearNetwork.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. You get this podcast and all the BLTD and Gear Network podcasts. I am Ryan Wolfe at WolfeBLTD. Obviously, you know by now. Joining me on the IndyCard Media Hotline, it's JC. It's JC Money. It's John Cimino. It's at I am JC Money on Twitter. And John, I have my voice. I have my voice back for the podcast, Ryan. It's nice.
I'm not sucking wind and begging for you, going into the wrestling club here, playing for the hot tag to tag you in to talk.
It's good that you're healthy. It's nice to have you back, 100%. Now, John, Buffalo on Sunday zooms past the Denver Broncos 20-3. As many expected would happen, but Buffalo looked dominant in the performance. Now, first off, some stats here for you. They moved to 8-3. That's Buffalo moves to 8-3 for the first time since 1996. Head coach Sean McDermott's 23rd career win ties him with Chuck Knox for the third most wins by a Bills head coach in the first 3 seasons with the team. And McDermott's next win ties him for 5th all-time in Bills history with 24. I'll give you one guess. Take a guess who the coach was.
For 5th all-time in Bills history with 24. First of all, that's not really an endearing number.
That's not a lot of wins.
Or stat. Let's see. 24. God, there have been so many head coaches. I'm gonna say, was it Duran maybe, or was
Slick Dick Duran? That's correct, my man.
Good old Dick Duran, man.
Funny story about Dick Duran.
Well, I feel like Dick Duran was the head coach there for probably about 4 years longer than he should have been.
Yep. Absolutely. Funny story about Dick Duran. I don't think I've ever told this on the podcast before. Back when I worked for 89.1 The Point at SUNY Brockport, or College of Brockport, whatever they call it now, we were covering a basketball game. I believe it was at U of R. And it was literally the day or the day after Dick Duran had gotten fired by the Bills. Mm-hmm. And he was in the stands. So I walked down because I was, I was the greenest of the bunch there. So they said, go down and talk to him, see if you can get an interview. He's going to say no, but just go bother him. So me being greener than baby shit, I walk down to the seat. I sit down. I say, hey, Mr. Duran. He looks at me and kind of gives me a smirk and says, hey, what do you want? And I shook his hand and said, I know you're probably going to say no, but can we get an interview with you about the Bills thing? And he goes, no, I'm not going to do that. And I shook his hand and said, thank you. And I walked away. And that is my story about Dick Duran.
Nice. Now it was a toss up for me. It was a toss up between him and Chan Gailey. I was going to throw out there too. Cause I remember when the old legends. when the old librarian Chan Gailey was the head coach there. It was, oh man, that was terrible.
So things in Buffalo have been great over the years.
Yeah. I mean,
now let's move on to the three big things here, John.
Oh, you mean that wasn't a big thing?
That was not a big thing. That was the intro. We're going bad. We're going bad.
Right.
We're going nationwide this week, man. The offensive train chugging along. The first of the three big things this week. Quarterback Josh Allen at the helm of that one. 15 of 25, passing 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 9 rushes for 56 yards. Now, his performance on Sunday was game manager mode activated, no doubt about it. But he did exactly what he needed to do to put the Bills in position to win.
He's got a good team. You know what? And that's good. And that's something that I've been talking about because I don't really think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Josh Allen hasn't thrown for 300 yards or more this season.
Never in his
very
career.
much, if at all, has he?
Never, ever in his career.
Never in his career. But, you know, and I guess that's a good thing, you know, for him because, you know, he's got the big arm, but I think this game manager mode suits him specifically because of the way the team has been built around him, with a lot of little pieces contributing to one big offensive train, and not a lot of big sexy names and things like that. I think this works for Josh Allen. I know a lot of Bills fans, particularly on Twitter, want to see this guy throw 60-yard bombs 5,000 times a game and put up those big numbers. But really, if he doesn't need to, and they're still winning, I mean, that's all you need. Again, they're still healthy, so it's a good thing. This Josh Allen, I don't dislike this Josh Allen.
It's less of the gunslinger Josh Allen and more of the what they feel like is Lamar Jackson light, where they're saying, you make the pass, you make the throws you need to make. As long as we score touchdowns and win the game, it doesn't matter how many passing yards you have, how many rushing yards you have. Protect the football, be smart with it, and go out and just try to win. And that's what it seems to me.
I would imagine that's going to be the only time Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are going to be compared.
They'll always be compared because they're in the same draft class.
They're in the same. Yes, they're in the same draft class. I get it. Him, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. They're all going to be linked together. But in terms of the type of playmakers that they are and performers that they are, Lamar Jackson is light years ahead of, quite frankly, all of the other quarterbacks in the class.
Absolutely. And we talk about Josh Allen too, not slinging the ball around. The one thing we did see on Sunday for the first time all season, I believe it was a 34-yard touchdown pass to John Brown on a dime. He finally breaks that little cold streak up and completes a deep pass, which all of Bill's Twitter that I follow and that follow me were losing their collective minds because.
Oh, I know, because I was sitting there at the same time that happened. I was watching Darnold torch the Raiders. And so I was more focused on that game as it was happening and was going to kind of I DVR'd the Bills game, so I was going to kind of go through that afterward. And I happened to go on Twitter because I was about to write something funny about the Jets like I usually do. And then I saw, I think it was you, Dell, and Brayton all like, "Oh my God, he did it!" And I'm like, "What the hell happened here?" Like when first I saw you comment that, and I thought you were just being a jackwagon,
shocking.
And I'm like, "Oh God, what now?" And then I saw you, and then I saw Brayton with "he did it," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't think Brayton's in on the joke. I'm not sure." And then I saw Dell post it, and I'm like, "All right, well, I know he's not in on the joke, so what the hell happened?" So now I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then you had replied that had happened, and I'm like, "Oh, all right, what's wrong with that?" And you're like, "No, I'm happy." So
yeah, it was very nice to see. And another thing too that Bills fans are pretty happy about, and this one's per at Buffalo Bills PR. This is Josh Allen's 7th straight game with two touchdowns or more. It's either passing or rushing. Ties a franchise record set by Jim Kelly in 1991 and is the longest active NFL streak. So Josh Allen is finding a way to get it done. Whether it is the deep pass to John Brown, whether it's the laser pass, the laser touchdown pass he had to Cole Beasley that no one had a chance on, or if it's just checking things down and being smart and knowing when to take a sack. Or, I mean, he did have an interception which broke his interceptionless streak, but aside from that, I mean, it was nice to see him make a mistake and not just kind of devolve into a pile of trash. It was very reassuring.
Well, yeah, and it is not only is it reassuring, but it should tell, really let the Bills fans know and the Bills Mafia know that this kid is something. He's I don't want to put him in a class, like Lamar Jackson. Like, you see Lamar Jackson play and you're like, okay, there's something special there. Like, I don't think Josh Allen is that special, unbelievable, like, once in a lifetime talent, but I think he's the talent that the Bills have desperately needed for many, many, many years. I think, and I argued this with some Bills fans that I work with at the 9 to 5 when they were just completely crapping on Allen and not realizing that he's still in his second year for all intents and purposes. Year 2 is still very much a learning year from the rookie year. And none of them were able to see what I'm analytically looking and seeing, the differences between year 1 to year 2 that Josh Allen has made. I mean, there have been, you may not have the sexy, unbelievable numbers in the fourth, 4,500 passing yards and 40 touchdowns right now and all that stuff, through the air, the Aaron Rodgers numbers or Drew Brees numbers or things like that. But he's doing a lot of the little things right that you need to do between year 1 and year 2. And it's only going to get better. And he's progressed so well. I mean, this stretch where he's been the quote unquote game manager, he was not that before that started. And he's turning out to be a pretty damn good game manager. And that's what the Buffalo Bills need to continue their momentum. Now, at some point, I'm sure Josh Allen will have to step in and be the man to sling it if he has to or whatever to win a game. Right now, the team is cohesive enough that they don't need him to do that, so he can learn at this pace. And I honestly, I see the changes happening week to week. He's getting smarter. He's more confident. He obviously loves the team and he loves the city. So it's really refreshing to see how he's progressing. And again, Bills fans should be very, very happy with what they see, not just from the record standpoint that the Bills collectively as a team have, but you guys have a guy that's going to be the guy progressing the way he's progressing. He's going to be there 10 years from now.
And as long as he continues to progress, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, John, I want to look at, speaking of people progressing in the offense, running back Devin Singletary, 21 carries, 106 yards, 1 catch for 8 yards. He continues to look impressive with increased usage. No fumbles this week, a very nice thing to see after 2 fumbles against the Dolphins. It was his first career 100-plus yard rushing game. Devin Singletary, I mean, despite the fact that they did sprinkle in Frank Gore, which we'll talk about here shortly, Devin Singletary, again, he continues to look the part. And, someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, I apologize, but they said that Devin Singletary is like the north to south version of LaShawn McCoy with better decision-making, where he just knows the hole he wants to hit, goes for it, and takes off. And it's crazy to see a third-round pick, a young player, be so decisive and be so talented like Devin Singletary. Really adds another dimension to the offense that the Buffalo Bills have kind of been looking for a little while.
Well, as the game trends more and more towards quarterbacks and receivers and throwing the ball and things like that, these kinds of running backs, you're going to see more and more of them in the second, third, fourth rounds even. So it's not surprising that someone of his talent being drafted in the third round was taken where he was. Again, this is, the running back position is not the running back position of old. It's not the Jim Browns or the Emmitt Smiths or, like your dad and your granddad's running backs. Now running backs need to kind of be a dual threat. Look at LaDainian Tomlinson was really one of the first ones that I think was expected to be both a dual threat one. Then you got Le'Veon Bell, even when he was in Pittsburgh and now in New York, doing the same thing. Devin Singletary is LaShawn McCoy when he's in Philadelphia, and then early on in his Buffalo tenure, same thing. Devin Singletary is of that mold, and I believe the Bills now that they have more than one game of Singletary producing when he's given more, I think that's only going to benefit not only the development of Josh Allen, it's going to benefit the team because now they have multiple options that they could do. They know he can run it, and with 21 carries, they know that he is a horse, and he's not afraid to get in there, get down and dirty, and carry the ball 20 to 30 times a game. We've seen in history that he is a threat out of the backfield to catch the ball. Again, you say the third round pick or whatever, that doesn't really matter. You're going to see lots of those come and go, but Devin Singletary is the guy for RB1 in this particular offense, built the way it is. It's the process, my man.
Absolutely. And speaking of the process, trusting wide receiver Cole Beasley on Sunday was definitely the next step in the process. You see Allen used Beasley perfect this week, a testament to game planning. Denver had some issues in the past with slot receivers, and clearly Buffalo picked up on that and had the perfect game plan. Beasley ends up with 6 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. Also, Buffalo had 424 yards of total offense for the second straight week. They won the first down battle 22-9. They were 8 for 16 on third downs. I apologize. And they had 35 minutes and 4 seconds in the time of possession. So Buffalo's offense did a very good job of controlling the pace of play and making Denver play to their strengths. And really that brings us to our second of the 3 big things this week, with the defense ruling again. These stats, John, are absolutely incredible. I've got a handful of them for you. First off, Denver quarterback Brandon Allen, 10 for 25, 82 yards and an interception. Denver wide receiver Cortland Sutton, who we discussed last week before the game, is a guy to watch out for. 1 reception.
Yes, and Denver quarterback Brandon Allen, he's way better than Colin Kaepernick, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the Denver's quarterback situation.
That's a BLTD podcast or a
Denver's quarterback situation is low key, high key, whatever, embarrassing. Denver running back Phillip Lindsay was held to 57 yards on 13 carries. Buffalo's defense allowed 3 points, 134 yards of total offense allowed, 49 net passing yards. That's the fewest allowed since Buffalo allowed. That's the fewest allowed in the franchise since Buffalo allowed 36 net passing yards. I apologize, versus Atlanta in 2005. Now, they also allowed 2.9 yards per play. That's 134 yards on 46 plays. They totaled 4 sacks, 2 by Shaq Lawson, up to a career high 5 in the season, who shit-talked a Broncos offensive lineman after the game, which was absolutely incredible.
Yes. He moved up. He moved up in my book so much with that, because you don't see that. You don't see that a lot nowadays, or you don't see, a lot of, or at least I feel a lot of authenticity.
Look, if your mouth writes the check, your ass better be able to cash it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Shaq Lawson's a real one.
Mitch Morse knew. Mitch Morse knew. He had to pull Shaq Lawson away, because if not, he's probably going to have to pry Shaq Lawson off the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I love it.
And you know what's great about Shaq Lawson too is he's played, like I said, career high 5 sacks on the season. He didn't get his 5th-year option extended by the Buffalo Bills, so he'll be an unrestricted free agent after the year. But I really think that he may have played his way into another contract with the Buffalo Bills because of how well he's played. And he's definitely, he's not going out there and getting 15, 20 sacks a season, but he's a force on that defensive line, which is what the Buffalo Bills need. So maybe Shaq Lawson comes back if the price is right. But so far, Buffalo's been reaping the benefits of him having a contract year, a career year, and a contract year.
He's going to get paid. Hopefully, for Bills fans' sake, is with the Bills, but the dude's going to get paid one way or the other, and I think he should be a Buffalo Bill. I feel he will be a Buffalo Bill. They'll extend him. They're usually pretty good about that. At least in the Pagula regime, they've been very good about keeping their players that they groom and that are decent and worth keeping.
A handful of other stats here for you. The Buffalo Bills defense totaled 6.5 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections, 6 quarterback hits. Talking about Buffalo linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, he had 6 tackles in the game per Buffalo Bills PR on Twitter. He has 203 career tackles. It marks the most tackles by a player before turning 22 since at least 1999. Also, Buffalo cornerback Tre'Davious White had his 4th interception of the season, tying a career high set in 2017. Now, this is also from Buffalo Bills PR on Twitter, John. Tre'Davious White ranks 2nd in the NFL in limiting opposing quarterbacks to a 43.1 passer rating when targeted, with a minimum of 60 targets. Also, he's tied for 2nd in the league with 13 passes defended. Tre'Davious White, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, hands down, and he continues to do it week in and week out.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. You broke up a little bit on me there.
I just said Tre'Davious White is one of the best cornerbacks in the AFC, if not the league, and he proves it each and every week, week in and week out.
Yes, he does. And to your point with the stats on here, 43.1, opposing quarterbacks, 43.1 passer rating when targeted. Also 2nd with 13 passes defended. He's definitely a difference maker on that Bills secondary, and again, that defense just in general is a very, very, very tough defense, a very good defense. Tre'Davious White definitely making his mark on that, putting his stamp on the defense. He's making people put respect on his name, my man.
Absolutely, and I love watching Tre'Davious White play. It's he's a character both on and off the field. You've got the Trey White goalie school or school of goaltending with the Buffalo Sabres. He's just a lot of fun. Glad to have him in town, and glad that he's a really damn good football player too.
Right, absolutely.
Now to our third and final big thing of the week, Gore Watch. And this one is a celebratory Gore Watch. He rolled into the week ranked 4th all-time in NFL history with 15,224 rushing yards, 45 yards behind Barry Sanders heading into the week. And he did not disappoint in week 12, 15 rushes for 65 yards. That means after week 12, Frank Gore now has 15,289 career rushing yards, moving him into sole possession of 3rd all-time in rushing yards, passing Hall of Famer Barry Sanders.
And again, and I believe we spoke about this a few weeks ago about how it feels weird in a way because it's not as universally celebrated or covered in the manner because it's Frank Gore has bounced multiple different teams instead of doing it for just one team or 2 teams or whatever. But it's significant. These are numbers that very, very in the 100 year history of the NFL. I mean, there's 3 guys above. There's 3 guys above Frank Gore at this point in terms of all time rushing. Like the significance. You know how many people have played the running back position in the National Football League, and to be one of 5 guys to amass 15,000 career rushing yards and still go. Like, I see the people that have put out there, well, Barry Sanders only did his in 10 seasons, and Frank Gore's on year 14, and Barry Sanders did it with one team, and Frank Gore's on his 5th team or whatever. None of that matters to me because realistically speaking, there are only one handful of guys that can claim being in that upper echelon category, and regardless of how long it took Frank Gore or where or whatever, he still did it. And I think there's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about it that Barry Sanders would have been the greatest of all time in terms of yards if he'd continued to play. If the Lions did not suck the life out of him, that's why he retired.
If Barry Sanders, and you know what, same thing with like Calvin Johnson with the wide receivers and why he retired.
Same exact thing.
When he did, same exact thing. The Detroit Lions sucked the football life out of those two great talents. And you know what the thing is you are absolutely right. Had Barry Sanders not retired, Barry he could have easily been in the 20,000 career rushing yards. Nobody would have touched him, I don't think.
I think it speaks to the longevity of Frank Gore too, that he's been able to keep his body right, been able to stay active, active enough in the league as he's gotten older to get to this point to be third all time. And another thing too, another stat to point out that he broke on in Week 12 last Sunday, he passed Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk for fourth all time in yards from scrimmage. Gore's 19,155 yards from scrimmage give him one more than Faulk. Only Jerry Rice at 23,540. Emmitt Smith at 21,579 and Walter Payton at 21,264 have more in their career. So another thing, again, it just speaks to the longevity. It doesn't matter how many teams Frank Gore plays for. All that matters is what he does on the field. I think, right. In my personal opinion,
he does. What he does on the field, he conducts his business. He does what he needs to do. He's completely professional. You'd never heard of an issue with him.
Incredibly humble too. He always
very humble, and just he does it the right way. The league would benefit greatly if we had 10 more Frank Gores. His personality, his work ethic. He's the real. He's 100, man. Absolutely. And I don't mean 100 years old, unless it's comically. But he's the real, and the league needs more people like him. And I think it was just a solid move by Buffalo to get somebody like him, because that knowledge that he has, that ethic, that work ethic that he has, he can now pass to a Devin Singletary,
and he has been.
And right, absolutely, he has been. So when he steps away, and if he steps away, the Bills don't renew his contract, and he gets picked up by another team, or he decides to hang it up, that knowledge has been passed on to somebody that can carry that torch and has the capabilities to carry that torch, which I believe Devin Singletary has all the makings for that. So this was a great move by the Bills, and hats off to Frank Gore. I want to see him play selfishly, I want to see him play at a high level 5-6 more years. But you know what? If he were to retire at the end of this year, hats off to him. I'd tip a high life back to him.
Now we'll still continue to follow the Gore watch. We'll just move it up to second all time. I don't think he's going to get there. He's quite a ways away, but it's late in the season and we've got some time to fill. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's fun. It's fun, but we will be watching for sure. Frank Gore, 8 rushing attempts behind Curtis Martin for third most all time. Curtis Martin has 3,518 career rushing attempts. So that I presume will be falling on Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. Now looking ahead, John, brought to you by 26 Shirts. First off, as we always say, 26shirts.com. Check that out. Check out facebook.com/26 Shirts. Give them a like to stay up to date with the latest and greatest of what they're doing over there. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram at 26 Shirts. As always, Dell and crew are doing a great job and continue to keep up the great work. And hopefully, again, I know I say this every single week. I feel like a broken record, but I'm honest. I'm really hoping to get Dell on. Our schedules have not matched up because he's been so busy and I've been super busy. So it's one of those life things, where it's I'm free when he's busy. He's free when I'm busy. That's why I'm so appreciative that John's here this season and Lewis as well. But hey, 26 Shirts doing the damn thing.
Yeah, doing the damn thing. And you know what? In this particular weekend, and not to, just shill out my own products too, but this is a very, very big weekend in retail. Okay. Black Friday, you got your Black Friday thing. So use Amazon. If you use Amazon, shopgear.com, shopgere.com. That's our redirect link to support this podcast and this network entirely. If you do your Amazon shopping, just take one more step and do that on both on Black Friday and on Cyber Monday and every day, really. But Small Business Saturday as well. That's a big thing. And 26shirts.com, I feel fits that small business mold. So this weekend, agree. Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, shopgear.com, 26shirts.com. Get them stocking stuffers. Get the gifts that everybody wants.
Get all them
for the Bills fan in your life.
Stockings.
Say what?
That's actually better live than dead after dark. I'm sorry. Anyways, moving on to our playoff outlook. Thanks. After 12 weeks, John, the Buffalo Bills currently sit with the 5th seed in the AFC. According to 538.com, the Buffalo Bills currently hold an 81% chance of making the playoffs. Currently, the playoff position 1 through 6, New England, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. That means if the season ended today, which we know it doesn't, the Buffalo Bills would head to Kansas City for a wild card weekend matchup. Now, Buffalo holds a 2-game lead over 6th through 9th. Pittsburgh is currently 6th. They have the tiebreakers, but Pittsburgh, Oakland, Indianapolis, Tennessee, all 6 and 5. Buffalo also holds a 3-game lead over 10th. Cleveland at 5 and 6, but Cleveland plays Pittsburgh this week. A lot of big matchups still late in the season. Everything's kind of coming together. The one thing I want to mention
here, something really weird before you go in there. Would you believe that the damn New York Football Jets are only 2 games out of that last wild card spot right now? Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Like, what the hell, man?
If they make the playoffs, man, Adam Gase is the coach of the century, man.
I will praise be to Gase and I will publicly, probably on my podcast, because Trust the Podcast wouldn't give a shit, but I will publicly apologize to Adam Gase if the Jets somehow make they won't. But if the Jets somehow make the playoffs this year, being 2 games out with 5 left to play, I will publicly apologize to Adam Gase. That said, I did
some research today over with the NFL playoff predictors and prediction websites. And if Buffalo loses to Dallas, Baltimore, and New England, that means they'd have to beat Pittsburgh and the Jets. Mm-hmm. So if they go 2-3 in the last 5 games, they should make the playoffs with minimal issue. Mm-hmm. That would include Cleveland beating Pittsburgh this weekend, and then Cleveland losing to Baltimore, both of which we can see happening with ease. I would have to say
the Bills are definitely in the driver's seat right now with their destiny right now. A win over Dallas this week, that sets them up pretty good.
Now, I was going to say, I understand, and that brings us to our Week 13 preview, the Buffalo Bills at the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is 6 and 5. They lead the NFC East by 1 game. I know when the season started, I wrote this in as a loss because I figured Dallas is going to be good. Buffalo might be okay, and Buffalo's been more than okay, I think, and Dallas has been mediocre. Like I said, they're 6 and 5. Now, granted, they lost to New England 13-9, had a couple questionable calls, which we talked about on the BLTD podcast with Lewis. The NFL did confirm that those were bogus calls, but again, naked eye, it happens. Quarterback Dak Prescott leads the NFL with 3,433 passing yards. Ezekiel Elliott, running back, 7th in the NFL with 919 rushing yards. Buffalo is by far going to have a tough task facing one of the best offenses the league has to show.
Oh, absolutely.
Has to offer, I should say.
Absolutely. And I had this game as well circled as a loss for the Dallas Cowboys because coming into the season, I gotta say I underestimated how the Buffalo Bills were going to perform. I didn't know. And in fact, I believe I said it was going to be one of 2 things. It was either going to be they were going to be extremely good, or they were going to be extremely bad. Like there was going to be no in between. And I had this game, regardless of what version of the Buffalo Bills are out there, as a punch Dallas Cowboys in the mouth kind of game. Because the Bills have always been that team, where, even if they were bad, they were bad enough to lose, but they were good enough to punch somebody in the mouth at any given time. And I always felt coming in, especially when you had the Ezekiel Elliott holdout thing happening in the beginning of the season. Now you've got the questions about Dak Prescott and whether or not, does he deserve the contract that he wants and things like that. You've got now, now, there were rumblings, seemingly for the past 5 years, rightfully so, of Jason Garrett not being the right guy for the Dallas Cowboys job. But now it's even getting louder, especially after the loss this last week, where, you've got Jerry Jones outright saying, with the talent that we have in this team, I shouldn't be this frustrated.
Isn't it really funny, too, that there's rumors out that Jason Garrett potentially would want to coach the Giants if he got fired by the Cowboys?
That would be absolutely hilarious if that happened, because if Jason Garrett were to coach the Cowboys and then beat the Cowboys in his first year 2 times, that would just I think Cowboys fan would lose their proverbial shit, and it would send me into absolute hysterics.
I think that the Cowboys are probably better off without Jason Garrett. We talked about this on the BLTD podcast as well. It's one of those things where even if he is the right coach for the job, at some point in time the message becomes stale, and I think that message has become very stale.
Well, and it's very similar to what happened with Green Bay and Mike McCarthy, for example. And now I'm not comparing Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy in a sense where of their coaching abilities, because Mike McCarthy has more playoff wins, more Super Bowl wins. Jason Garrett's only got 2 playoff wins in 10 years as a head coach in Dallas. So something wrong there. I agree with you there. That said, the Bills can't take their head out of the game and think that this is going to be an easy one, because Dallas, as you've been able to see, I mean, going back to the game against the Jets, when the Jets were kicking the crap out of them the first 2.5 quarters, and then Dallas ended up making that comeback and narrowly lost that game. And in this past week against New England, Dallas was a bogus bullshit tripping call away from extending the drive and possibly putting themselves in a better position to either take the lead or tie the game. They're good enough under pressure. They just don't finish the job. So the Buffalo Bills need to stick to their game plan. They need to trust their own process. Josh Allen needs to continue to be the good game manager that he is. And the Dallas Cowboys front line is going to be a very, very tough challenge for this Buffalo Bills defense, who is a very good defense, but this is going to be probably the biggest challenge that they've had defensively all season.
Absolutely. And their defense has been rolling red hot. I mean, you face Miami, you face Denver, but those are the games you get your momentum build up, and they can roll red hot to Dallas on Thursday. And like you said, maybe they hit the Cowboys in the mouth and they can steal one, because again, a lot of people, I'm going into this game with low expectations of just, hey, whatever happens, happens. The Bills are playing on Thanksgiving for the first time since 1994. I was 3 years old when that happened. It's the 9th time it's ever happened in franchise history. I mean, I was 14,
Ryan.
You're 14?
I was 14.
Yikes.
Shut up, anyways. Ryan. Lewis was 36.
He was. The 9 times that this will be the 9th time, like I said, they've played against Detroit, the St. Louis Cardinals, Oakland, San Diego, and the New York Titans, if that tells you how long ago it's been.
Titans, Titans. That's not how the chant goes, but you get
I appreciate that. That was spirited. I really thank you for that.
I'm a regular everyday fireman out over here.
So it's the first time the Bills have ever played against Dallas on Thanksgiving. The one thing to look for in this game, John, Cole Beasley returns to Dallas for the first time since signing with Buffalo in the offseason. He had 319 receptions, 3,271 yards, and 23 touchdowns with the Dallas Cowboys. So with that being said, John, quick shout out to everybody. Hope you have a wonderful, happy, healthy, safe, delicious Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you enjoyed the Bills game. John, I appreciate you joining me today and doing the podcast.
Yes, y'all. I appreciate you having me and keeping me trusting not only the process but the podcast as well. My good sir.
I like what you did there. John is he's at IamJC Money on Twitter. I am at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter. We are Trust the Podcast.
You're not.
We'll catch you sometime very soon. Go Bills! And as always, go Bills! And have a safe and happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Gobble gobble, y'all. The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.